Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, May 19th. We are here live. It's time for some industry insights. Brent Hutto will not be with me this morning. I believe Noel is going to join me. I know he was here a minute ago, and then I saw him disappear off the board, and I think he's back. So Noel should be joining me any second. It is kind of a free-for-all today. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I'll see what Noel has in store for us today. But if you want to talk about anything at all, the phone lines are open, 855-950-3835, or hit that call now button on your app. Anything goes. We've got a couple hours today, so pick up the phone and join me. I do see we've got Noel with us, so I'm going to bring him in so we can get started on things. Noel, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. How about you today?
I'm fine. I'm still here.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, since we don't really have a theme or an agenda today, what are your thoughts? We talk about this a lot on the show. What are your thoughts on retirement? I think I know what yours are, but you know that old
on what?
On retirement. You know, our old model of retirement, people work for 40 or 50 or however many years they work, and they can't wait till that day that they retire. And the statistics don't hold up very well for most of them.
Well, I'm still working at age 78.
That's don't you think that well, obviously you do, or you wouldn't be doing it, because I know you don't have to work. It just seems like that whole retirement model just did not work out very well. Uh-oh. We lost Noel again. I'm not sure what's going on. I've seen him coming and going on the board, and it looks like he just went again. I don't know if it's a cell phone issue on his end. I don't think we're having any phone issues on our end. Everything looks good here. I guess we will wait and see. In the meantime, I will grab a call since we've got him coming in. Let's go to Missouri. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, sir. I talked to you a couple of weeks ago about my slow weight loss.
Yes.
And you suggested doing a NutriQ. And I did that last week or over the weekend, but Angie said she was able to get that pulled up.
Okay. Holy cow. I have a feeling, well, before I say anything, tell me this. Other than the weight loss, let's set the weight loss aside for a minute. How do you feel?
Mm-hmm. Great.
Okay. You are either feeling really, really good, which I hope so, or you're in what we call an underreporter, or both. So there are some patterns in a NutriQ that I've gotten pretty good at reading. And this isn't a criticism of either sex. Women tend to be over-reporters, and men tend to be under-reporters. That's just in general. It's not across the board, but it's in general. What I mean by that is the NutriQ is scoring you on how you feel in all kinds of areas. We're looking for symptoms. And you score based on a number or a severity. We almost always see women score higher than men, and I don't think it's because they feel worse. I think they just report differently. So we call them over-reporters and under-reporters. You are so low on everything. Like I said, you have to be feeling good, and you may be somewhat of an under-reporter. So there's nothing in here other than maybe some pituitary. That's the only thing you have that even makes it into the medium priority. Everything else is very low. So, and pituitary is hormonal, so it could have an impact on weight loss. It's just nothing obvious is jumping out. So,
okay.
One of the
and when
things
we talked last time, you you said that maybe try some of the kits, but you didn't really have an idea. And
Well, now
throwing a dart at a dartboard.
and now I'm going to tell you, don't bother. I don't see that you have any digestive issues at all. There's nothing here that would allow me to pick a kit or a supplement that I think would help you, because I don't see where you need help.
Well, let me ask you this. I've been eating really clean. Now, when I go home, I do slip up and I'll slip in some carbs. I might have a roll, bread roll, something like that. But while on the road, I eat pretty clean. It's like I'll have some chicken that I marinate in Italian dressing, or this morning I had some sausage and eggs. But on the road, I really, really clean, considering that it's not the high quality, grass-fed type stuff,
which is fine.
But I'm wondering if I may be overeating, so I am not. I know we don't talk about calories a lot, but maybe I'm not at a calorie deficit.
Well, you don't need to be at a calorie deficit, and that's why we don't talk about calories. Period. It's just not worth talking about them, measuring them, thinking about whether you have a deficit or a surplus, or if you are eating when you're hungry and really hungry. I mean, sometimes we have to learn the difference between hungry and bored. But if you're eating when you're hungry, you should be able to eat until you're fully satisfied. And if you're hungry again later, you do it again. If you eat when you're hungry and you're eating the right foods, it almost never comes down to overeating.
Okay.
It's pretty rare. If you're eating the right foods, they're pretty satiating.
There are times that I eat because I just want to eat, or eat out of boredom, or eat feelings, or stuff like that.
That will do it. That can do it. If you are eating other than for the fact that you're really hungry and your body's telling you to eat, then that can do it. The other thing I would say after seeing this NutriQ, my only recommendation, and this isn't to go out and get a gym membership and do 40 minutes of cardio 3 times a week, I would just find a way to get more active.
And I am working on that. It's like when I'm fueling, I'm way out of shape as far as muscle strength. So I'm looking to get, what is it that you've got in your store, the X bar?
The X3 bar was going to be my next recommendation, because it doesn't take much time at all. You can take it with you in the truck. If you do the X3 bar 10 to 15 minutes, and you should be able to get it down to 10 minutes. So the workout that if you are in good enough shape that you can just move right through, it's like 4 sets is all it is. And if you can move right through it, you can get it done in 10 minutes. And 4 times a week will make an incredible difference. That's the only thing I'm seeing after looking at this NutriQ that I would recommend. I mean, there really aren't any supplements. I don't think you need anything. You know, the daily stuff that I talk about, but other than those, I'm not seeing that you have any symptoms we could address.
Okay, because I've started, like when I'm fueling, I'm trying to do some traveling lunges.
Sure.
Or do a few push-ups before I take a shower, do a little jump rope. I'm trying to get more stuff in, and I figured that would help.
Do you do a lot of 34-hour resets on the road?
It kind of depends, but usually 1 to 2 a month.
Okay. You know what? A great hobby to pick up when you're on the road, because it doesn't require any equipment whatsoever, and when you have time like that, is hiking. And I'm not talking about really strenuous. Just go for a nice walk. Find a good trail somewhere. Kind of plan your 34-hour resets when you know they're coming. But I would just add, again, don't go get a gym membership and think you've got to do cardio, so many minutes a day. But I would just look for ways like you're already doing, just to add more activity to every day. And I think that's probably what's going to do this.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. And the other thing I was going to say is I try to check my glucose and blood sugar. So just to give you a little bit more information, unless I am taking MCT oil fairly heavily,
okay,
my ketones rarely get above one.
That's normal.
Using the Keto Mojo.
That's normal.
Okay. If I use a lot of the MCT oil, sometimes they'll get up to close to 2, maybe a little bit over.
If you're getting over 2 ever, we know your body is capable of moving into ketosis, and it will do it when it needs to. If you start using the X3 bar, you're probably going to see those numbers go up a little bit over time, but I wouldn't even focus on that much. I think you've got all of this pretty well figured out. If you just start getting more active, I think you're going to be fine.
And then a glucose of low 100s. Like 113 is high for what I see on the meter.
Is that fasting?
I would think that should be down probably closer to 80. Usually fasting, like in the morning.
Okay, so I will tell you this, and this is common. This is common across the board.
Go ahead.
People who eat very low carb, carnivore, keto style diets almost never see blood sugars in the 80s. Almost unheard of.
Oh, okay.
90 to 110 seems to be the range they stay in most of the time, which is ideal. I mean, we don't need 60s and 70s is not better than 80s and 90s or even 90s and 100s. Now, a doctor may look at, if you show up and you're at, 110 on a fasting, the doctor's going to tell you you're pre-diabetic, and you can ignore him, or you could ask for a fasting insulin test, which would prove that you're nowhere near diabetic. You're the opposite. They're just not used to seeing those higher fasting numbers. What they're used to seeing are the low fasting numbers and the very high numbers after you've eaten something. Once you get your blood sugar under control and you're eating very low carb, you'll see this really tight range, but it tends to be higher than what they're used to seeing. We've documented this for the last 10 years. My numbers are there. Everybody I know that eats this way, that tends to be their range. Okay.
Yeah, because even after a meal, I've done it just to see where I am, and usually I don't even touch 130.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that nice tight range you stay in. That's where we want our blood sugar. We don't want it going from 60 to 180. I mean, that's a sign if we're not already diabetic, we're darn close to it. And that is the norm with most people in our society because of the way that they eat. But when we eat correctly, we get down to that nice tight range where there's not a lot of fluctuations, which is much better. And then if you're producing ketones once in a while, that's wonderful. We know that you can. You can get up above 2, so that's outstanding. I would just keep doing what you're doing, add the X3 bar and some activity.
Okay. I appreciate it.
All right. Good talking to you. All right. We have got Noel back. Noel, is somebody hacking your phone today or what?
No, I got it. My headset ran out of juice.
Okay, got it. We were we had just started a little off topic, but we were just talking about our traditional model of retirement and how more and more people aren't following it, including you.
Well, I mean, there's 2 things we know for sure that affect this. First off, people are living longer, and they have more useful work lives to invest. The other thing is that pension, the classic fixed pension that allows people to both retire comfortably but also retire early. Those pensions are disappearing.
Yeah, they sure are. They're just about gone these days.
Yeah, they are. And so if people need to work longer than to pay. The other thing is, and this is not there yet, but given the deficit situation, federal payments at some point in the next 10 years are going to fall. To include reductions in Social Security of some sort. Plus, medical expenses are going up. So there's the federal angle of this says that people will need more money in their aging years. So I think you're right on. You're going to see a lot more people working.
Yeah. Well, most of the people I know well into their 70s, approaching 80 that I work with, couple over 80, none of them need the money. They just like what they do, and they've slowed down, which is really kind of nice. But they stay working, they stay active, they stay engaged. I just think it's healthy for us to have a purpose.
Well, you and I don't need the money, and we're still working, ain't we?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm still a youngster, though.
Chicken.
What's that?
Yeah. I said, you're probably younger than me, but you're no spring chicken anymore.
I feel like one. Doesn't that count for something?
Yeah, it does. Oh, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of, kind of the economy in general, why don't we start there? It's been a while since we've had you on the show. Thanks for coming back, by the way. I've been looking forward to talking to you. I have kind of tuned out from the news and from social media and from, the economy. And I check in once in a while. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it. Almost this year, I took some time off in December and kind of rethought our whole business model. And we've spent the first part of this year doing a relaunch. And I kind of tuned out from a lot of that stuff. And I got to tell you, I think I'm happier.
You should see my wife. She gets so worked up.
It's easy to get worked up if you stay too engaged. So, I kind of disengaged because I was just so busy on other projects. But now I'm wondering if this just isn't better for my mental health.
Probably is.
So give me, pretend like I've been under a rock this year and kind of catch me up to speed. It seems like what I do keep up with, I keep up a little. There's a lot of stuff going on that maybe we haven't seen much of before.
Well, it's a good place to start, Kev. Let's go back a month or 2 months and think carefully about what Donald Trump has been proposing. And whatever you say about the wisdom of it, from a short-term macroeconomic standpoint, it was the major negative. The tariffs, immigration, a few other things. And therefore, if indeed he had stayed with those things, the 135% tariff on China, et cetera, the U.S. would, and I'll put this strongly, certainly have dipped into recession. The economists it's interesting, economists don't like to forecast recessions because they're so hard to get right. And so usually they talk about, well, the economy is getting a little weaker, but they don't say recession. Well, the last year they've been talking about recession. They haven't really committed to it enough to make sense, but nonetheless, they're worried. Now, so that's step number one, but we see from the tariff standpoint that he's backtracking. And we are likely to miss the direct, sustained effect of those anti-trade measures. Now, having said that, and this is what I'm worried about right now, and that is both the fact that he imposed those tariffs, or said he would, and some of the other relatively radical policies he talks about that he changes every other day, have made people uncertain about how to manage their supply chains. And I'll give you two examples. So a friend of mine has a friend who imports a pure food ingredient. It has no gene messing around with like we get in all food ingredients in the United States now. So it's not available in the U.S., and he was importing it from China. Well, it looked like 2 weeks ago he would have to find a completely new source. new country, et cetera, et cetera. And it probably would have taken him 3 or 4 months to get back to. And here's the and a second one is I ordered a splitter for my hoses out in my garden 2 weeks ago, Amazon, and they were supposed to come 2 days later. Well, they haven't come yet. And all Amazon tells me is, well, they arrived in Baltimore, and Baltimore shipped them a week ago, but we don't know where it is. And I live 2 hours from Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. Somebody could have walked it over to you.
Yeah. And I'll give you one other example of this. You're driving on, what is it? What's the freeway that runs along the river there in Oregon?
84.
84. You're riding along 84, and it's a weekend, and it's pretty crowded. But, it's doing okay. And then some little event happens, just a little event. Somebody's driving slow. There's a RV or something that's going 40 miles an hour. And suddenly the whole highway is plugged. And it stays plugged for like half an hour. You can't figure out what the hell happened. Well, that's what's happening to the economy right now. And even though Trump is, the president is backing off these things to avoid the disaster that we were headed for, rightfully so, the upset are still in the system. And put differently, he has a negotiating strategy which is based on competing with one country at a time. And it's okay to play games with those. I mean, if you're a deal maker like he is. What we're missing here is that there is a system effect of the uncertainty that these things happen. And it takes quite a while for it to clear out once the irritation, if you want to call it that, is reduced. So my point is that supply chains, and we know from a consumer standpoint that they're heavily Chinese oriented, they've all been upset. Long Beach is empty right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I commented on this a couple times in the last couple of months, and it's interesting that you brought this up. I thought maybe it was just me or my experience, but it seemed like there was a time there where I was shocked by how fast things were shipping. Like, very next morning when I ordered something late at night. Sometimes when I travel in certain cities, you could get Amazon deliveries in the same day. And then all of a sudden it seemed like that started to change, and I didn't know if it was just me or not. It seems like everything I order anymore takes longer to get here than it has in quite a few years.
Well, highly likely given the upsets to the system. And I would put it this way. You think about how hard Amazon works, as an example, to make things smooth.
Oh, yeah.
They want you to say, hey, it's easier than going to the store.
Correct.
That takes a very coordinated supply chain to make that work. You got to have the right inventories, you got to have it in the right place, it has to move quickly, et cetera, et cetera. You throw a little bit of uncertainty or disruption into that system, and suddenly it's not slick anymore. Or I'll put it differently. Let's just think about imports. Imports surged in this first quarter, we know, because everybody was pre-buying, correct?
Right.
Now what's going to happen? And by the way, inventories are way up. So what are they going to do this quarter?
Not order.
They're going to stop.
Right.
Right. And of course, being humans, they'll overdo it. And so sometime in July, they'll figure, oh my goodness, I didn't order enough. And then they're going to over-order to make up for it. And I looked at it the other day. The upset that we had in 2020, pandemic, big deal, but then this is a big deal too. But that upset, the market took 62 weeks to stabilize after
Wow.
that upset.
Yeah.
Or maybe 82. No, it was 80. It took almost 2 years for it to come back to normal. And not only did it take that long, but it has taken almost 2 years since then for the market to realize that what happened during that surge was not normal. When it got back to normal, they were so used to the euphoria of all that that they said, well, that's normal. Well, it was. And my point is, you could argue that we haven't gotten over the pandemic yet.
No,
Supply chain.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I mean, I don't think we've seen, the traditional patterns we're used to. It seems like we're just seeing odd occurrences, and it just doesn't seem like we have settled back into any kind of a pattern.
Yeah, I have a friend who is a very good economist at the University of Indiana University, and all he talks about right now is volatility.
Yeah,
And 2024 will be a volatile year. And I'm not making a point about whether Trump is right or wrong. That's not my place here. What I am saying is that his particular approach is inherently a volatile one. And therefore, we should expect market results in trucking. And trucking, by the way, is so closely related to everything economic in the United States.
right.
That it's my advice, by the way, to people in our industry, in thinking this through, is to not think of it as a transportation problem, it's a trucking problem, to think of it as a consumer problem. To get some sense as to whether this is serious or not, you have to say, oh, what happens when Amazon orders something, and when it becomes easy to get a feel for, you said it, Amazon had things so slick.
Yeah.
Now they don't.
Right.
And, the transition is Amazon's trucking was really slick. Now it's not.
Yeah.
Because of
So,
and one other point, I forecast trucking, and even without putting some of this volatility in the second and third quarter numbers, I get negatives.
okay. So,
I've been saying we've been in a truck recession. We really haven't, but I think the next 2 quarters are going to be very weak, recession-oriented for us in the I don't understand it completely how the numbers come out.
yeah, let me ask you this, because I said I've kind of tuned out, but the one thing I'm always very tuned into are my listeners and my kind of microcosm in the market, the very, very small carriers, ideally, an owner-operator. What I've been seeing, and I'm almost wondering if this volatility is a part of this. So I'm making a weird analogy here that probably doesn't fit. In investing, short-term investing, if you know what you're doing, volatility is the best thing that can happen. Day traders love volatility.
Yeah. That's gambling, but
correct. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need markets to move in either direction for them to make money short term. I teach that very long style of dollar cost average into the market your entire working career, and you'll be fine if you do that. We don't care what the market's doing short term, and that still works. But short term, you almost have to have volatility to make money, and most people lose money because of the volatility. But many do really well. Well, maybe not many. Some do. So what I've been seeing in my part of the trucking market throughout COVID, since then, I have a group of owner-operator small carriers that are just having their best years ever. And every time we keep hearing, well, there's a freight recession, well, rates are back down, volumes are down, we have too much capacity, it doesn't seem to be affecting them. But right up till today, I mean, I talk to people every day about this. I have a group of people that are just doing better than ever, and they don't seem to be affected by any of the volatility or the market itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's in every market, there's a distribution of success. But I can tell you on the spot side, now on the contract side, we have no recession. Rates volumes are still a little bit above trend, and rates are about on trend. On the spot market side, volumes are slightly below trend, so there's no reason why somebody can't be having a good year. The only issue is rates. What we know about rates is they're weaker than they should be, but there's no reason why you can't make money in this market. Plenty of people do. And by the way, recently, last month, the FMCSA numbers cleaned up, showed strength in the small fleets.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was interesting.
The big fleets were going the other direction.
Yeah.
I put it this way: what we're looking at, and this is really important for the listeners to think about. When you do forecasting, whether you're an economist like me or a business guy like you or a trucker, all you're looking for is the next quarter going to be different from where I am today? Do I have to do something different? It's the whole purpose of forecasting.
Right.
Things are okay. It's going to be different next month, and so what we should be asking, and most of the time it's not different, which is why I've been terminated 5 times during my career because they didn't think they needed an economist. The trick is to figure out whether there's something different, and for better or well, you just said it could be for better for some people. Right now, we have a pretty good indicator. Well, okay, let me qualify it. We thought before Trump backed off on his tariffs that we had a big negative indicator, and things were going to be different in the second and third quarters, fourth quarter maybe. That's gone away. So the chance of a disaster, if you want to call it that, is small. However, we've just been talking for 25 minutes about the effect of all this uncertainty. And what that says is that the market's going to be volatile, and you summed it up. For the people who are really nimble, that's a great thing. For most of it, it's a negative. And so I would expect prices to be, inflation up, volumes down slightly, enough to cause people some pain.
Got it.
Not a full recession, but not a good time. And so this is the time, here's a favorite word of mine, this is the time for your listeners to be really prudent.
Okay.
Because I don't think the next 4 months are going to be the same as the previous 4 months, which is normally the case. I don't think it is right now. And we know what direction the risk is. It's down as opposed to up.
Yeah. So looking at this market again, that has done well through all of this and is still doing well, they're really hard to put in the spot or the contract market. It's not that they necessarily have a lot of long-term contract freight, but they have a lot of long-term relationships with a broker or a carrier or a shipper. I mean, or a good mix of both. And it still mostly would be considered spot market freight, but it's a little more committed than most spot market freight. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, yeah, and the dividing line between spot and contract is really getting fuzzy.
Yeah, well, it certainly seems to, and in this market, it really is. They've built really good relationships. They're not going to the load board all that often, if ever. and they have more work than they know what to do with, and it pays well. Not fantastic, but they've also really worked hard on their expenses and their whole business model. And it just seems to me they've almost insulated themselves from the volatility.
I think you're being a little optimistic, but the point here is we're really not sure.
No, that's kind of why I'm asking. And I will tell you, the optimism is coming from them. It just
The what?
the optimism is
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah. The biggest challenge I have with many of them is to talk them down off the ledge of buying more trucks.
Oh boy, have you done them a service?
Yeah, well, that's what I spend most of my time on, telling them, enjoy what you've got going. It's working really well. Don't expand. Now, I will tell you the one thing I am encouraging many of them to do, and it's working well for them, and I've done this for years, trailers. Buy more trailers. They're inexpensive. And I think this is where the volatility is helping them. They're not buying the same kind of trailers. One truck, maybe 2 or 3 different trailers that they can kind of shift around pretty quickly and pick up freight where it's moving.
Well, trailers are a lot cheaper than tractors.
They last a whole lot longer. Their maintenance cost is much lower. Yeah, it's...
The only thing, well, this is a longer term thing, that what comes to mind, however, to me, and maybe we're talking about a different market, Amazon, who keeps expanding, is tractor only. They're providing all the trailers.
Right.
So if you're expanding your trailer fleet, you're not going to get a lot of business from Amazon.
That
may just be
the crowd I'm talking about wouldn't pull for Amazon if they were about to lose their truck.
The weekly numbers, spot numbers, just came out. There is some reason for optimism here. That back in, and it had to do with the pre-buy in the trade helped the spot market, and we just had a big jump this week. And I think it's in part people shipping, having heard that the president has backed off.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
So we are, it's only 1 week of data, so we don't know whether it's a trend or not. But we had a back in March, and we may be having a bump right now.
Interesting. So can I... Yeah, well, I was going to say, can I shift gears and ask you about a topic that you may or may not be up on, and how this particular topic affects the economy? How much have you been looking at the impact of AI?
Strategically, a lot. Tactically, hardly any.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of looking, I've been doing the opposite. I've been pretty deep into the tactical applications, but I'm trying to get a better picture from somebody like you. So that kind of works out really well. Like, what does this mean in the bigger picture?
Well, hey, AI is a euphemism for automation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right.
What we know for certain is that at some point we're going to automate all the trucks, and that will revolutionize our business. Transit times will double because you're not sitting waiting anymore. You're not sleeping, you're driving. And costs will halve. And the interesting aspect of that, the great unknown, we know directionally what's going to happen, but the great unknown is if you what you're doing now is increasing the remember back from economics, we talked about the concept of utility, the usefulness of something.
Yes.
Well, AI will multiply the usefulness of trucking by 4 times.
Wow.
So, we have a lot of smart people in this country, Amazon, for instance, who are scheming ways to use trucking better. They're going to revolutionize what they do. And I will give you 2 examples that I know for certain. First off, and these are approximations, so people can do their own calculations. If you go to AI driverless trucks, 2 warehouses in country, only 2 will provide first afternoon service to every location in the 48 states.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, if you're going 65 miles an hour for 20 hours a day, you go a long way.
No, that's true. Wow.
One warehouse in Kansas City can provide second afternoon service to the entire country. Now that's one stunner. Here's the other. Why do we have big trucks? There are 2 reasons. There are 2 big reasons. The smaller of the 2 reasons is that you have a smaller frontage area and you have better fuel economy, correct?
Correct.
You're breaking wind, bigger thing. The other reason is you have a driver and you want to put as much goods behind the driver as possible. You take the driver out, you now eliminate the biggest reason for economies of scale in trucking.
Yes.
So, and I'll make this extreme, but let's say we have this 2 warehouse system, and I'm being served here in Pennsylvania by somebody in Columbus, Ohio. That's my warehouse. Well, if I don't need a 53-foot trailer, why don't they pack a step van for mine so it doesn't have to be re-handled when it gets to Harrisburg?
Yeah.
Do it from the main and just little truck all the way to my place, never handling that stuff again.
Yeah. So
This is big stuff.
one of the things I talked about back in whatever year that was, 17 or 18, when all the autonomous talk started and it was the topic every day. And one of the things I talked a lot about was how if we think of the truck itself, the tractor that's going to pull some sort of a trailer, whatever that may end up looking like, because it's interesting with what you just said, how we could go to smaller, almost more containerized kind of stuff. But I said it is going to be so inexpensive to build the tractor if there's no human being involved. Well, you think about everything that has to be built on that unit to support a human being.
No question about it. Or think about it this way. Take J.B. Hunt or Schneider or any small fleet. What is today the number one competency of running a truck fleet? Well, there are 2 big ones. What are the 2 big competencies of running a truck fleet? What are we really paying these guys to do?
The drivers or everybody in the fleet? Are we specifically talking about the drivers?
You are paying this guy to match up his capacity efficiently with your demand. That's the first half.
Okay.
That's the broker part, right?
Yeah, okay.
The other part is match.
Right.
Well, if you don't have any drivers, then half of J.B. Hunt's value add disappears.
Yeah. Well,
what does that mean?
Here's the other thing I'm seeing happen faster than on the driver side is on the broker agent side. I mean, we're already seeing some pretty powerful AI tools that allow one person to do the work of 10.
And here is the test of AI, and I've thought a lot about this, and I've written on it. Here's the test. There are 2 things, and it speaks to the the degree of the value add of AI. There is no question that AI will make unemployed the majority of the people who work for brokers today. All of that work that they have to do goes away, right?
Right.
So that's the known. The unknown, at least in your career and my career, is whether or not AI will become smart enough to not only handle the paperwork, but to find the best load or the best truck.
So this is a topic that I've been talking about since, I think it was either 1990 or 1991. And I've told the story, so I'll keep it short. I was building a small fleet, and my biggest problem back then was trying to find freight itself. And there weren't a lot of brokers. And I decided that one of the best ways for me to keep the trucks that I had and I wanted to keep growing was to be able to go find more freight. So I went to a broker school. And the school was really a two-man brokerage operation, and you went there for a week and made coffee and answered phones while you learned what the brokerage business was all about. The interesting thing that happened, so again, this is 1990, 91, I booked my first ever flight on the internet in 1990. It was with a system called Easy Saber, which the travel agents had been using, and Easy Saber opened it up to anybody, and I booked a flight. And when I got out there and I'm talking to this broker about, and I was telling him about this, he says, I know, he says, I've been watching this. He said, I'm pretty sure our business model is going to go away. And that was when I first thought about it. And when you looked at brokers in general, investment brokers virtually disappeared. Travel agents, which, there are a lot of similarities between travel agents and freight brokers, but there's some big differences too we know of. But we saw the middleman in many, many cases disappear completely because of the internet. And there's been this prediction ever since, and I figured out pretty quickly he was completely wrong. And he's still in business today. He still runs a big broker school, and he would tell you he was completely wrong. We watched the last round of technology when I would get at least 3 to 5 phone calls or emails. This back in 2017, 18 again. And their first line was, "We're going to be the Uber of trucking." And I would respond with, "No, you're not." And they would get really upset. And I would say, look, you can't imagine how many times I get this phone call and why I will say, no, you're not. Because your technology will not do what the broker does for the shipper. Well, we've got so many carriers lined up, and I'd say, well, what about shippers? Well, we're working on that. And now I'm wondering, will this be the technology when they get it right that might finally really hurt the broker?
Well, that's the huge question, and what we know is that it will narrow down the broker's opportunity to provide what I'll call traditional expertise. However, put differently, think of the best broker you know. Why the hell can't she, and it'll be a woman, by the way, why can't she figure a revolutionary way to use all this capability? In the end, it's a huge opportunity. The problem is that, I'm a product of the first half of the last century. And I can't see that far into the future to tell you what the angle will be. But what I know is that somebody is going to make a big fortune matching up freight.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Here's the point, and I'll back up to what I said earlier. By the time we get to 2050, and certainly by 2075, say 2050 because many of the people listening today are still going to be here. Supply chains will be profoundly re-engineered. The old rules will be gone.
Yeah.
There will be a new normal, and somebody, maybe it's Jeff Tucker's grandson. He's a great broker. Maybe he's the guy who figures out, or his granddaughter, how to organize all that using AI. Now, one more point, and I want to emphasize this. Everybody worries about automation. And I know all of the people who drive trucks are rightfully worried about it. But let me give you one example that I'm going to be giving at Thursday. And here is this. Since 1800, in 1800, how did freight move? Either on water or in wagon trains. That's how stuff moved. So if you wanted to get anthracite coal to heat your house or to make iron, you had to put it in a Conestoga wagon and drag it through the coal fields. 2 guys, 4 horses, took forever. Well, we have, since 1800, revolutionized productivity about 10 times in the United States.
Okay.
And are we surplus or short of labor right now? You tell me.
I would say short.
Short, okay. Here are the statistics. Just looking at moving coal. A modern coal train does the work of 50,000 draymen.
Did you say 50,000?
1,000 draymen out of work. Wow. I mean, the point is, in hundreds, it was so expensive that you didn't use them much.
Right.
So there is no whatsoever that productivity in the long term kills jobs. It generates jobs because it opens up possibilities. So I am profoundly optimistic about the state of the American economy 20 years out. The only question is, how do we get from here to there with a deficit problem? But I mean, AI is a wonderful opportunity.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad I brought it up. I've been pretty deep into it, and I want to be that optimistic. I really do, and history tells us we should be. Based on what you just said, it happens every time. Automation never kills jobs. Our economy just keeps growing. This one seemed so big to me, maybe because I'm down in the trenches and I'm seeing what it's capable of doing, but I'm also starting to see all the possibilities that creates. Right now, if I had to just say who has the biggest advantage with this, honestly, I think it's somebody that wants to be a one-person business. I can think of so many businesses that, with the help of...
It is a profoundly decentralizing bit economy of scale improvement.
Yes. Yeah, that's very well put. That's what I was trying to say. And that's what I see, that it creates incredible opportunities for people to start businesses they couldn't have started without it.
One more fact. I'm an industrial archaeologist. I love infrastructure. And at one time in the 1870s, the steel mills in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania were the biggest in the country. And in World War II, there were 35,000 people working there. Now, to get that same output, because of productivity, it's probably 1,000 people.
Wow.
Of course, Bethlehem. But I mean, that's just one example of how what used to be an extremely labor-intense industry has changed.
Yeah, certainly has.
Nucor does Bethlehem Steel with a fraction of the people.
Yeah.
So this happens. You name the industry, whether it be drayman or steel or flying airplanes or whatever, and we've had multiple productivity revolutions. The only catch, and I'll give you one point before you probably have to shut me off here, and that is it's time jobs to change. And one of the hidden facts of the Depression, 1930s Depression, was that under the pressure of the bad economy, people figured out very quickly, radically, how to use the productivity improvements that showed up in the 1920s. And
Interesting.
they laid a whole off. And it took 10 years for the economy to regenerate new jobs.
Yeah.
Things like trucking or telephone, electronics, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The war helped. But my point is, the economy recovered financially in the Depression pretty quickly, but employment did not, because it takes time for people to move and for the jobs to be recreated. Right. And we will have some dislocation pain from this problem. And by the way, I'm repeating myself, but it's what you just said. This is a very big change.
Yeah. It's hard to overstate how big it is.
And the big danger, of course, is that people we all hate change if it affects us sometimes, and we're likely to slow it down because somebody will lose their job. And in the end, that's poor policy, but it's natural.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'll say one more thing, and that is what we call AI is in tactics is really the use of computers to automate things.
It really is. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think some people just get hung up on the term. Somebody will say, well, that's not really AI, it's machine learning. And my point is, I don't really care what you call it. I'm just looking at what I can see, what it's capable of doing.
There's another big issue here, and that is that people worry about a lot, and that is, will the machines become smarter than we are? And I think that is a completely separate issue that may show up in 100 years, but for the time being, it is. I'm 78. 10 years from now, I won't be able to drive. Will there be a car that'll drive me around?
Yeah.
That's the we're playing too.
Yeah.
What a time it is, Kevin. What a time.
It is. Well, I am so glad you joined us today. It was a great conversation, very thought-provoking as always, and we hope we can get you back again soon.
Let me know. I'm here. You know how to get me.
All right. Will do. Thanks, Noel.
You take care.
All right. Take care. All right. Phone lines are open. If you want to jump in and join us, it is a free-for-all for the rest of the day. I will, I'll hang out for another hour or two, depending on the calls. So jump in and join us, 855-950-3835, or hit that call now button on your app, and we'll get to your calls and whatever it is you might want to talk about. Let's go to South Dakota. Tom, good morning.
Kevin, good morning. Hey, before I go, I don't think Noel listens to your show after he's on. I'm hauling citric acid for Monster Energy.
Okay.
And it's number 4 on their list.
Okay.
Right. And I'm placarded flammable 1197.
Yeah.
So for y'all that like your energy drinks, you know what I mean?
I will.
It starts out as flammable 1197, and then I'm sure they cut it down to like 1/1,000,000th or whatever,
I will say this.
So it's generally recognized as safe.
Well, but I'll play devil's advocate on this one because I understand what citric acid is. It is completely natural. It becomes dangerous when highly concentrated. And I'm sure that's
right.
what they do when they ship it, because that makes sense. anytime you eat, I mean, think of the word. Anytime you eat citrus, and citrus can either be very acidic, like, an old school grapefruit, the way they used to be, or a lemon or a lime, or whether you eat a sweet orange, citric acid comes from citrus primarily, and it's what makes citrus acidic. Vitamin C. So actually, it's a very useful, good compound when it comes from food. Now, like I think I had this conversation the other day. When we start isolating and concentrating compounds, we tend to see more problems with them. But this one's pretty darn natural for the most part.
Yeah, it just they added some flavors, and you're right. That's why it's hazmat, is because it concentrated it down to God only knows what percentage. Enough to make it flammable 1197. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure you can't set a lemon on fire. Maybe the lemon peel with the essential oils, but if it's flammable and placarded, they've done something to it.
Yeah. Now let's go to your buddy Joel. Now, Joel wasn't right in 2018 at the CME. Okay.
Wait a minute.
I've heard him on your show plenty of times, and he hasn't been right since.
Wait. Joel?
No.
Oh, hold on. I got to correct you. Noel. There you go.
Okay. All right.
You got to get it right. Yes.
Yeah. Noel is now. I could probably, God only knows what would have happened, but he's the reason I didn't buy a truck after the CME. Is he had me so afraid of what's going to happen. Now, if you go back and listen to Yasser Arafat.
Hey, Tom.
He was more.
You put more faith in my guest than you put in me. I listened to Noel for a reason. Let me tell you why I said that. I love having Noel on. I love talking to Noel. When him and I have time when we're at conferences, or I just think he's got a great take on a lot of things. But I have been saying for as long as I can remember, even though I report on the economy, I bring economists in, we talk about it all the time. I have said over and over and over, forget the economy when it's time to start a business. I put it down at number 10. If you are ready, there is a market for a new business every single day. I don't care what the economy's doing. Noel just talked about the Depression. There were billionaires made in maybe not billionaires back then, multi-millionaires made during the Depression because of the Depression. So I've always said the motivation to start a business or the time to start a business has nothing to do with the economy, our segment, our industry. It has to do with whether you're ready or not.
No, I agree. But Noel sort of aged out, I think, because his two examples were coal and steel. Okay, now
those. Hold on. I'm gonna step in again.
Examples.
I'm gonna step in again. Those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it. And we can go back to. There are great lessons from 200 years ago. Business is business. It hasn't changed much.
Right. No. Okay. I totally understand that. But for him to start out saying, that Trump backtracked on his tariffs, which that was if anybody hold on.
I'm going to stop you again. You are mixing up politics and economics. And Noel even tried to. No, he even tried to. He probably should have said it stronger. He said, "I'm not commenting on whether any of this is right. I'm just telling you what it does." And I completely agree with him.
Yeah,
I completely agree with him. He wasn't saying Trump shouldn't have done this or that. He's just saying And he is correct. Trump has been all over the board with this tariffs. I understand why. I've talked about it because it wasn't purely an economic tool at all. He was using, but everybody looks at it as an economic tool.
Well, no, it's the way that everything was going. It's unsustainable. Look at we've got $1 trillion a year in interest only on our national debt.
Again, you're mixing up the economics and the politics.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just saying something. It was unsustainable. It is still unsustainable. Their budget is.
I completely agree with that.
6%.
That doesn't change what we were just talking about. Is that the Trump's style? And here's what he brought it down to. Not even just the tariffs. Trump's style will cause volatility. That was his point, and he's 100. Well, that was the point. Not that it's right, not that it's just that it will cause volatility.
He wanted everything. He wanted everything back to the good old days. He wanted his hose coupler in 2 days from Amazon.
So do I. I want it the next day. I got spoiled. I live out in the country, and I was getting things the next morning. We all want that.
Well, there's going to be, we're going to have to make little sacrifices here.
Well, I don't disagree with that either.
The dollar's going to be not the reserve currency, and we're going to get hyperinflation. Myanmar looked like it was Great Britain. This was unsustainable, the route that we were on.
I completely agree.
And for him not to even realize that.
I don't think he addressed that.
Well, he wanted everything back to the good old days where, your supply chain is...
Good old days, we're talking about a year ago. I mean, we're not even talking about... And all we're saying, there is hold on. This is where you're mixing up all this in your mind. I completely agree with you. Our government is a mess and is unsustainable and should have never happened anyway. There was no good reason other than to benefit the elites and the politicians that we ever had a system like this. So I'm all for fixing it. Here's where you're mixing this up. That has nothing to do with whether or not Amazon can get me something tomorrow. We could fix the government completely and Amazon can start delivering same day. That the two have almost nothing to do with each other. Yes, what Trump is doing has broken the supply chain a little bit. I get that.
Because our supply chain is highly dependent on China.
Yeah, right. Well, and it shouldn't be. So let's fix that. And when we do, we can go back to we can go better. We could get stuff same day.
Yeah, we can get it the same day if we made it here.
Correct.
We can get it the same,
Right.
I don't know how many people out there look at labels. I haven't bought anything from China except I had to buy that stapler, instead of the skin stapler that was made in China. It's the only one I could find. $7. Okay, go ahead, China, eat it up. But I can't find. I look at labels. I don't buy from Amazon for the most part because they are all Chinese. You know what I mean? If everybody would just do that to the tune of I think it was $78 a year and didn't buy from China, we'd be making that stuff here. And, but we've become lazy and complacent.
Well, hold on. Because one of the things I refuse to do, and I've always refused to do, is I refuse to reward mediocrity. And I'm not saying that China puts out great products. They put out a lot of junk. But sometimes I'd rather have, sometimes tools are a great example of this. I'd rather have a junk tool that I only need to get a specific job done, and I only need it once in a while. But when I need it, it really saves me a lot of time and effort. Now, if somebody made a better one, would I buy it? I don't know. I might not. I never thought I would buy into the whole Harbor Freight model for tools, but I have, because I don't need Snap-on quality.
No, I understand, but I don't even think Snap-on's probably made in the United States, and I don't even know. You know what I mean? I don't.
Well,
know.
it doesn't even matter where it's made. If we just stick with the quality issue for now, and I'd love to see things made here in the country again, but there needs to be value in
quality.
them. Well, quality.
Right.
There needs to be a value, and a value is different than price. I see a lot of value in a cheaply manufactured tool, for example, that you could make this thing much better. I'm aware of that. But if you make it much better, it's going to cost me a lot, and now there's no value in it for me. So sometimes cheap is better.
Yeah, and you're going to use it one time or once a year or once every 3 years.
Yeah, so sometimes cheap is better. It provides more value. Now, something I use a lot, I love really good quality, and I'll tell you where that comes in for me. Vehicles. I don't want a cheap vehicle that I feel like I need to replace every 3 or 4 years. You know, one of the best vehicles I've ever owned, I doubt that I will ever get rid of my Toyota FJ Cruiser. Like, I'll give it to my grandkids at some point. The vehicle is
Toyota. Yeah.
It's just so well built. I've had it for coming up on 20 years. 18 years I've had this thing, and nothing ever goes wrong with it. It's just so well built and so well made. And had I bought, I don't even know what the Americans make that are close to it, honestly. I would have been through
Ford.
Yeah, an Explorer, I guess. I would have been through 3 of them in 20 years. And somebody's going to go, no, I have a 20-year-old Explorer. I know you do, but I don't like all the crap I have to fix constantly on most American vehicles. And I go back to a time when you got looked at sideways when you bought a foreign vehicle. And I decided early on, I'm tired of rewarding mediocrity. I think the American auto industry has been a joke for decades. They still are. They missed the boat on almost everything.
The 80s, they took us for granted, and then Japan came over here with Nissan and Datsun back then. I don't know,
Honda,
Toyota, and
remember
Honda. My buddy had a. Yeah, do I remember?
They were
my
junk.
buddy had one of those CBCCs. The Honda?
Yeah. The Honda, all of the Japanese vehicles in the beginning were junk. For one thing, they rusted out horribly in our conditions. They were
well, we were in California, so
right. Yeah, I was in Ohio where they salted everything all winter long. I did body work, so I remember replacing horribly rusted out body panels. The Japanese cars were really small compared to the American cars, and we didn't like that. And they were basically junk. That changed pretty quickly, though. And it was actually an American that helped them change. And he had an idea about manufacturing and constantly making tiny improvements to manufacturing. Deming, I think was his name. He took it first to the American automakers, and they basically laughed at him. And he took it to the Japanese.
And we stayed junk.
Exactly.
The Japanese got better, and we got worse.
Now you want to know another example of the exact same cycle? The South Koreans.
Sure. Yeah, if you look at
Kia and Hyundai.
I'm not happy with mine.
When they came out, absolute junk. They were heavy.
Hyundai.
They weren't efficient. There was just a lot of problems with them. But look at what they have done across the board. I see more Kias and Hyundais now than I see almost anything.
I've got that Hyundai Elantra. My girlfriend runs around and delivers stuff with whatever, DoorDash or whatever she does. And she almost got 100,000 miles on it. I changed it a little every 5,000 miles.
It's probably still under warranty. They were one of the first to come out with 100,000 mile warranties.
Yeah. but this is the battery in it. And the battery so far so good. So, but I'm about. I think I got 98,000 on it, and that battery scares the shit out of me. You know.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
The batteries, but here's a market. I don't understand how the Americans completely missed the boat on this and still do, and I don't know that there's any chance for them to catch up. The luxury car market, it's owned by the Germans and the Japanese, and now the South Koreans. What high-end SUV do we have that competes with any of the German SUVs?
I don't think any. The Mercedes-Benz even in the 90s was if you bought that thing and it had a W in the VIN number, means it was made in Germany. You can still see them on the road today, the 80s, the 80s and 90s. That was such a wonderful car, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And the high-end market, expensive cars with a lot of stuff that nobody really needs and really high quality. That market, the Americans missed it completely. Like, give me a brand
who is it now, Lexus?
Well, Lexus is just Toyota. See, the Japanese got this.
Yeah, but those are
high end,
really nice. I don't know. I haven't.
The high end market is owned by
the
Germans and the Japanese. You've got BMW, Mercedes. Now you could go to some of the smaller brands. Italians have done better. The Japanese all decided, and they were smart to do this. Every one of the Japanese makers created a new label. Toyota had Lexus, Nissan had Infiniti, has Infiniti, Honda has Acura. Those were just their high-end, more expensive vehicles, and they sell really, really well, and the Americans have nothing to compete with them. After a couple of decades of this being the trend. Cadillac is nobody ever says that's the Cadillac of anything anymore. That used to be a phrase.
It used to be a phrase. Exactly right. I don't know. I haven't priced jet airplanes or high luxury vehicles. One
of the reasons I chose to buy those vehicles, my first one was a very inexpensive. At the time, I could have spent $15,000 to $20,000 on a new American car, or I spent $10,000 on a used BMW. The used BMW was 4 times more value than anything I could have bought new. And they last forever if you just take care of them.
320i's, yeah.
They did. Even smaller,
last a long time.
Even smaller and cheaper. I had a 318.
318.
Yep, I had a 318. Yeah.
Those nice cars. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure where Noel was. Well, at the start of the conversation, he says that the third and fourth quarter really worry him, and then later on he was real optimistic about the economy 20 years from now, which we won't have an economy 20 years from now paying 20% of our GDP to the interest. So I don't know where he's sitting on all this stuff, and with AI, I don't know what your thoughts are on what that's going to do for our industry.
For our industry specifically?
Yeah. That's all I'm really worried about. I can't really worry about the price of rice in China right now. You know what I mean? I'm sort of worried about us.
All I would say about our industry, and I'm not going to try to put a date on this, but this is no different than when I said in 2018. It's not hard to predict the direction. It's very hard to predict the timing. The direction is some of us listening today will live in a world where vehicles don't have drivers.
Well, we're not far away in the trucking industry from that now. And I don't know who's, and that was another thing that he did say, is that they're all going to, going to be autonomous, and AI is going to bring us to that forefront. But they're still going to be powered by diesel unless something really changes. A while back, you were mentioning the solid state battery. I think that Samsung was coming out with. I'm not sure who it was.
Somebody will.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Somebody
or
will.
The ranges
and that'll change everything on electric. And so I'll say two things. I do believe sometime in the future, autonomous and electric will become the norm.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I've got my windshield wipers on, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? Those trucks are gonna the trucks that the AI trucks are going to be nothing more than
a drive line.
Just a little. I don't even know if it'll have a drive line if it has electric motors on it.
Well, a propulsion system. Let's call it that. It will be
going to be a little box.
It will be a propulsion system, and it will be dirt cheap to build.
I can't imagine that they're going to be more than 20, 30. They won't have anything in. They won't have air. They won't have a steering wheel.
No glass, no seats, no upholstery, no entertainment systems, no refrigerators, no bunks, no beds, no windshield wipers, no heaters, no air conditioners. I mean, we could just go on and on and on and on. And I tried to say this in 2018. People are going, oh, those AI trucks are going to cost so much. No, they're not. The AI technology itself is cheap. And when you look at once we get rid of the human being, which will eventually happen, the vehicles become a commodity.
Who's going to make them?
Oh, who knows?
Will it be Tesla?
Who knows? Tesla's
got to be huge in it.
They are. Being first doesn't always mean you're going to be the winner. Many times it's the opposite. The first contestants flame out, and it's the second generation many times. Tesla's hard to bet against, though, and they're just
they pivot so well.
Everything he touches, he's such a unicorn in so many ways that. Now, I just read an article this morning. Lucid. Are you familiar with Lucid?
From way back, yeah. I didn't. That's not the guy that ended up in prison?
No, that's Nikola.
The Trump pardoned?
That's Nikola.
Yeah,
that was the other truck. Yeah, no, Lucid makes a beautiful, big four-door sedan, fully electric, to compete with the Tesla's big sedan. Beautiful car. It looks like it's really well made, gorgeous. It's big. And I've seen a couple on the road. I just read where Lucid just took over Nikola's manufacturing plant in Arizona. Now, Lucid doesn't.
Grande there?
I think that's the one. Yeah, Lucid does not make trucks. In fact, I think all they make is that one big sedan right now, but that could change quick. So I do think that the future, whenever that might be, will be electric autonomous vehicles.
Now, if you combine what Noel was saying with the distribution points and autonomous vehicles,
that was interesting.
And shrinking things down. That was interesting. So instead of a 53-foot dry van, now you're pulling it. So you're pulling it with a much lighter, just autonomous vehicle with a battery. It's basically a battery is what it's going to be, right? With four wheels.
Right.
And then because you're going to be 40 feet or maybe 34 feet like a pup. So you're pulling around a pup, so your weight is going to be much different because, like I say, you'll be able to put the battery in the pup also to extend your range.
Correct.
Pretty much double whatever it was.
Right.
With solar panels all over the thing. And like Amazon, if those trailers are sitting there for a long time in the distribution center, just soaking up sunlight,
Powering the warehouse.
It's right and almost right. You can almost
Right.
almost right. No, it's gonna be a crazy time to be alive.
It is, and
gonna be a crazy
one
time
of
to be
the
alive.
things that there's so many aspects to AI, it's almost hard to talk about. AI itself, forget what it does to jobs and industries and all that. That's one area, but AI will accelerate everything else.
It's doubling every 4 months or every 3 months. It's doubling. So what? Do you want a penny a day, double a day for 30 days, or $1 million?
Exactly, and
that becomes exponential.
It is so exponential. I don't think the human brain can comprehend it, and
we don't get it.
It will advance all these other technologies so much faster. I just saw a new, and when I say new, I mean new from last week. That's how fast some of this is changing. There's a new direction in AI where, AI basically right now it's kind of like you and I talking. I say something, you respond. You say something, I say something. That's kind of AI. As powerful it is, you ask it one thing, it returns crazy answers, does all kinds of deep research. The newest trend, and I think there's only one AI engine that I've seen that has it so far, is let's say that you have 15 things you want AI to do for you, whatever those 15 things might be. Now, you can put in all 15 of them and walk away. They're all separate commands, and it will now work on them all individually, and you just go do something else.
Individually, won't even take them. So it'll take them one at a time. Well, in a year, it'll take them all at one time.
No, it does.
You know what I mean?
It already. No, the one I'm talking about today, you type in one. Like, I want you to redesign this piece of my software. I want you to go research this. I want you to calculate this. As you're typing them in and hitting enter, it starts working on. By the time you get down to the bottom, it's probably done with the first one. It's working on them all simultaneously.
Yeah. See, with the quantum computing, now the problem that we have with AI, and we do have to get there first, because if we don't, and China does, that's a real big problem militarily. And so it's power. Those things, so your AI search takes twice as much power as a regular Google search. And most of searches now are AI.
Yeah, and that's just searching. Searching is like a very...
Yeah, that's just searching.
That's a very menial task for AI. I mean, that's like the bottom of the barrel kind of stuff, right? The power comes in far. Now, it's a great search engine by far, way better than a traditional search engine. But that's the bottom of the barrel of what it can do. Now, what you just talked about, though, when we say, oh my, I can look at so many jobs where one person with AI can replace 10 or 15 other people. It's across the board. Right. I'm seeing it everywhere. Once these things catch on, people learn how to do it. That's why I'm saying this one-person business model could get bigger in a lot of different areas. But when we say, okay, we're going to crash our economy, we're going to put everybody out of a job. Well, wait a minute. Where's all this power going to come from? You're right. We need a lot of power to make this stuff run. Well, that means somewhere we're going to have to create a lot of jobs.
Do you see what the Chinese are doing about that?
No, I don't.
They're making set alone. They're making set alone nuclear.
The
power station,
the small one. There's a name for these. Yeah, there's a name for the tiny little power stations. Yeah, we're doing some of that.
That are nuclear.
We're doing some of that.
Well, how are we? I don't know all about those yet. I haven't really researched it too much.
There's a term, I can't remember what it is.
Cooling those things. PODs or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
There's an acronym for them. How are they cooling those? And when we do get this, now people believe whatever you want to believe, but our poles are shifting, and we're going to get hit with the CME eventually. What happens to all those when we can't cool the core or whatever's in there and they melt down? Those alone could be a complete catastrophe.
So here's how I've decided to approach this AI thing, because I've talked about the horrendous potential downsides of all this. The point I've come to now is there is not a single thing I could do that would ever change the downsides. I could devote my entire life to trying to warn people about it, change things. I don't even know what that would look like. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be a drop in the ocean if I dedicated my whole life to it. So
there's nothing we could do.
Nothing at all. So I spend as little time thinking about that part as I can now, because there's not a thing I can do. And I try to see, where are we going? So first off, how can I use this to my advantage? And then second off, how can I help other people figure out how to use this to their advantage?
How do we embrace this and make money off it, or
make our life better? Right, exactly.
What did you come up with?
So here's one of the things. Now, this could also look like a huge downside to us. We have to be aware of this. I talk about brokerage is just one place, and I talk about that because brokers are a big topic with us. When you see the amount of work one person who understands AI and learns it can do, it's pretty incredible. And then you think, well, we're going to put an awful lot of people out of work. When you look at the programming side of things, the AI agents are incredibly powerful at programming. Now, when I first started playing with some of these tools, I thought, oh my God, everybody's going to write software. Well, that was way overly optimistic. Here's the best analogy I think people might understand. Remember when Microsoft brought out the first little graphic art program, Paint, where you could go in and you could make shapes and fill them in and color them, and you had 87 different fonts, and everybody with a computer and a printer thought they were now a graphic designer, right?
Right.
And 99% of what got created was total garbage. It was fun, but it was absolute garbage. I mean, nobody wanted to look at this stuff. It was ugly. It was, you can't put 32 fonts on one page. Never looks good, no matter how much you think it does. Or PowerPoint, when all the effects, oh my God, look, you can have a starburst and you can make it spin and twirl when it brings it. Everybody got over that stuff fairly quickly. It was garbage. That's what's going to happen with programming right now. You are going to see software everywhere, and 99% of it is going to be pure garbage. What you're going to see, you are going to see some young, maybe even teenager this time, become a billionaire because he used AI to build some sort of software. But it's going to be rare.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I'm not going to benefit from that because I can't figure out who that individual is.
Well, of course not. Right.
Is.
I'm just saying it's going to happen. And there's going to be more than one. We're going to see a whole new revolution, like I've talked about. Like, we had Bill Gates and Michael Dell and the original, and Steve Jobs, and we had those original computer billionaires. Then we had the kind of e-commerce billionaires, which, by the way, Elon Musk was one of those, PayPal, and Jeff Bezos, Amazon. So when we look at that was almost all e-commerce. Then the last round, Mark Zuckerberg and many of those was the social media revolution. Those people came out of nowhere. Nobody was going to predict that some goofy college kid was going to build Facebook or anything like it. But so
And it would be so popular.
it's happening right now. We're going to see a whole group of new billionaires, or we could get a little wild and say this might create the first trillionaire.
Well, probably will. But what's the one common denominator for AI? Depending, and it doesn't matter who does it, is the chips. They're all going to need those chips
that's
from
one.
that,
That's one piece. And that's where a lot of the new jobs come from. A lot of the new work comes from. We need more power. We need more chips. We'll create devices that we can't even imagine right now.
No, look at the nanotechnology.
Right. Some things are going to be created that we can't. Now, here's the other thing I will tell you, though, that when I talk about these one-person businesses, if you can learn how to harness AI and you have an idea for it, whether it's programming something or there's lots of opportunities here, but we don't have any big advantage now just because you live in the United States. In fact, we have a disadvantage. I could see a lot of these people creating businesses from, Thailand or the Philippines or wherever, because there's almost no barriers to this. A lot of these businesses that we talk about are basically going to be digital businesses. They could be run and started from anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And then like I was listening to a podcast, like it was just saying about nanotechnology, and that's quite amazing in itself. And if you take a marble and put it in your palm of your hand, okay, and that's a nanometer.
Yeah.
What's a meter? The Earth.
Yeah, right.
In comparison.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That gives you a little perspective.
Yeah.
All right. I know you. Yeah, I know. We've been too long.
All right. Good stuff. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Yes. I am going to go to San Diego. Randy, I'm moving you to the front of the line. Good morning.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Good morning. And in the past 12 hours, my life has been turned upside down, and I don't understand why. So I'll give you just a brief summary. Yesterday, I was doing my normal stuff, little light work around the house, went for a bike ride, enjoying nature, and I made 12 chicken wings on the smoker, ate some chicken wings. A little later on, I had some sausage. And at about 5 p.m., I felt like I had to go to the bathroom, like number 2. But I went in there and I didn't. I knew something was different. And about maybe 20 minutes later, I was in the fetal position on our bedroom floor. And I called my wife and I said, please come in here. And I said, I want you to take me to the emergency room right now. So she drove us here. And long story short, they say that I have something called sigmoid colitis. And
so first off, just so it doesn't sound quite so scary, do you know what the word colitis means?
No.
Inflammation. That's it. That's not any kind of an official diagnosis of anything. They told me I had colitis when I was 7. It's just inflammation in your intestinal tract. It's not a diagnosis. It's a symptom.
Okay. Well, I already feel better because you're scaring the hell out of me here. And
you don't have a disease. You have a symptom of something.
Okay.
That's a whole lot different.
Well, what they said. Okay, and what they said was I have a micro tear. If you would be looking at me to the right of my belly button and down, kind of almost near, I guess, where the colon is.
Okay.
There's a micro tear there.
In the colon itself?
No, in like that area that leads over to there.
Well, wait a minute. I need to understand this clearly. Is the tear in your intestinal tract, either your intestines or your colon?
It's in the intestinal tract to the right of the belly button.
How did they find this?
With I did a CT scan.
I would not let them cut anything out.
That's what I was thinking too. And the lady was just here who works for the surgeon, and she said, "What I'm seeing, it doesn't look very serious, but we may still want to do it."
Well, they can want all they want.
Right.
They want to do things because they make money doing them is really what most of this comes down to. It's never the best course of action for the patient. Unfortunately, our medical system is so corrupt anymore that they'll do any procedure they think they can justify and get insurance to pay for. And insurance is happy to pay for all this stuff because that's how they make money. So that's what
I'm worried about.
Yeah. So catch me up to speed. So you were in this horrendous pain. Where are we now?
Okay. So they brought me here. They did the CT scan, and they came back with this diagnosis
of inflammation. Let's remember that all they've diagnosed is that your intestinal tract is inflamed. There are so many things that could cause that to happen.
Okay. Well, they said they have no idea, and that I didn't cause this. I didn't do. Well, nothing was my fault.
First off, we don't need to blame, but you could have caused it. Let me give you just an example. This could be bacterial. You could have gotten a bacteria that is causing inflammation. You could have gotten it from food. You could have picked it up anywhere. That is causing inflammation in your digestive tract. So when they say they have no idea, I get it. I don't have any idea either. But there are some very non-invasive ways we can start to diagnose this.
Okay. Well, where I'm at right now is they said they wanted to start a bag of antibiotics every 8 hours. So I'm on my second bag right now.
Were you running any kind of a fever?
I'm at 100.1, 99.5.
That's nothing. I would have
low grade.
I would have not gone the route of antibiotics. I might have gone the route of antimicrobials, but only if. Now, what do you think got you out of pain?
Oh, at 3:00 this morning, it was about a 7 or 8 on this crazy scale they have.
Okay.
So they gave me some morphine.
Okay.
And I was refusing it for as long as I could, 2 milligrams of morphine.
Okay. So you're out of pain because they give you when there's that kind of severe pain, we do want to do something. I mean, we want to try to alleviate the pain, but more importantly, we want to figure out what's the root cause here. And if it is bacterial or microbial, then yes, we may need to go in and kill whatever it is causing the problem, but it's kind of hard when we don't know what it is. If I'm going to take that approach, I would rather use natural antimicrobials, oil of oregano, manuka honey, those kind of things, especially in the beginning when there doesn't seem to be any risk to your life. You're not spiking like 104 fever. So...
Oh, no, not even close.
Yeah, I would have gone with more natural antimicrobials, but they've started the antibiotics. If the inflammation goes away, then we know the cause was microbial.
I see. Okay. And right now, like the biggest, I don't have pain as I'm talking to you, but if I go
let me ask you this.
Abdominal muscles to sit up.
Let me ask you this. And I think I know the answer to this, and I'm looking at your NutriQ. People who have ulcerative colitis, and all ulcerative colitis really means is the inflammation has gotten so bad and been around so long, it's creating ulcers. That's all that UC means. Then we've got, I can't even keep all these digestive issues correct. We have some syndromes, but then it can become what they call a disease. Crohn's, all of these things are basically different levels of just very compromised digestive system because of our diet. Now, people like this suffer for a long time, almost daily. Like they have urgency. They have to go to the bathroom. They have to stay near a bathroom. They have a lot of abdominal pain. They can go back and forth between diarrhea and constipation. Their digestion is basically a mess. And that goes on sometimes.
And mine has been perfect.
See, that's my point. You did not develop one of these syndromes or even what they want to call disease, whether it's Crohn's or UC or there's a whole nother irritable bowel syndrome. Syndrome means they have no idea what the real problem is, but you have an irritable bowel, which is what I just said. Your stomach constantly hurts. You got to be near a bathroom all the time. Those are just a whole group of symptoms. Those usually go on for years before it moves from a syndrome to what they now call a disease, Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, and then a lot of damage is done. That's not what happened to you. You went from near perfect digestion to an event. That's why I almost have to believe this is microbial of some sort. So have they done a stool test yet?
They have not.
See, that would be my first. You're in the hospital. I mean, you're right there. Let's just do a stool test.
The only test they've done has just been blood.
Do you have the blood work?
Tons of blood tests. And I don't have it yet. I don't have the copy yet with me.
If you could send that over, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. The doctor who came in last night told me, he goes, hey, your blood work looks great. And he said something about how the white blood cells and the red blood cells look fine to him.
So what that would tell us, and that this all makes sense, you probably have some sort of what we would classify as an infection, some sort of microbial something, yeast, fungus, bacteria, virus, something has gotten into your digestive system. We're still so early that your immune system hasn't even shown signs of fighting it yet. That would be my guess. And this could resolve itself on its own in a couple days. That's possible. You might also be fighting it 2 weeks from now.
Possible. Right. Okay. And they did say that they think that I might be out of here in a day or two. But like I said, the surgeon people. Oh, and then the other thing is.
Well, so let's stop and think about how ironic this is. You could be out of here in a day or two. Well, if you are, what is their conclusion? If they're just going to let you go and say, oh, look, your symptoms are gone. We don't know what else to do. We're going to let you go. Or we're going to cut you open and operate on you. How does that make any sense?
They said if they let me go, that it would be an outpatient surgery because the microtear could get worse.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It could also heal.
That's why I needed to talk to you.
It could also heal. So if we want to talk about what it could do, it could heal. So at the if you are concerned about the microtear, and it could get worse, I don't know what we're dealing with, I would get a full functional medicine doctor to address that issue. I mean, everything else.
A really good one here in San Diego.
Yeah, everything else, is going to come down to nutrition and maybe some supplements, and I can help you with those things. When it comes to the microtear, you should probably have a good functional medicine doctor address that one.
Okay, and because I don't trust these people at all, Kevin. I don't.
Oh no, you shouldn't.
System.
You shouldn't.
And I don't. And you're the reason that I didn't get the shot. You are the reason, and I'm so grateful. And I haven't had a chance to ever call you because I work. Most people probably don't know me, but because I don't get to call in, but I work for UPS, and it's very difficult
I'm
to
sure.
stop and be on hold at my job.
Yeah, I'm
You know, because
sure.
I'm in and out. I'm in and out. So
UPS,
every,
so for people who don't know, UPS counts how many left-hand turns their drivers makes and tries to cut down on the number of left-hand turns they make.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And it was funny because back when the whole thing blew up with COVID, was still watching the CNNs and the MSNBCs. And at night when I got home from work, I would watch those, and then they would almost convince me. But then the next morning would be you on the radio telling me not to do it. And I went back and forth for a long time with it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. The evidence is there.
Yeah, well, good. And here I know you're in the hospital. I know they've already started the antibiotics. Honestly, once they start them, we should finish them. And then what we're going to need to do, and you could start this now, you need to start rebuilding your gut as much as you can. Lots of probiotics.
Oh, okay. And you can help me out with which ones and whether they're the right ones.
Yeah. What I would recommend right now, and I can put you back on hold when we're done, is a Biodoff 7. One of our just basic probiotics, and then I would probably go with the TerraFlora Daily. I would start with those two.
Okay, all right.
And in the beginning,
sounds good.
Like the first week or two, you can double the recommended dose.
Okay. And
now,
briefly looking at the NutriQ, what did you think?
That you have like zero intestinal digestive problems.
It's been, Kevin, I could set my watch by it for a year.
I can tell.
Like I could literally.
Right. That's why this is an event.
It's been, yes. And I do say to myself, I don't even know I have a digestive system, because I agree with you. When it's working properly, you don't know you have it.
Right. Which is a wonderful thing. Right. Yeah. Yes. And I can see that from your NutriQ. They treat you the way they treat somebody who's been fighting digestional problems for a decade. They're treating you the same.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, I know you got other callers, and I appreciate this greatly, and I'll be in touch, Kevin. I appreciate it.
All right. Good talking to you. Take care, and we'll talk again soon. Right, stay in touch.
Okay. Yeah, I will, and I'll be posting on the site. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Talk to you soon. All right. I won't put him back on hold because I think he's good for now. Let's go to Ohio. Oh, let me try that again. There we go. Joe, good morning.
How we doing?
Doing good. What can I help you with today?
Are you there? This might sound childish, immature. I don't have the right term for it, but when do you sell the truck just to put your mind at ease and replace it?
No, I don't find that question childish or immature at all. I find that to be a really good question that more people should ask.
I've got two simple problems. It's costing me a fortune, and I got two dealerships I'm working with. I got one by the terminal so I can get a hotel at a reasonable rate. I've got one by my home so I can be home. They're not saying conflicting things, but now they're saying, let's try. There's no diagnostics anymore.
So what are the problems?
And every time I'm driving down the road, I'm just waiting for the next problem. I can't relax behind the wheel.
So what is the problem, or what are the problems?
The main one is DEF related. It keeps saying it has a heater circuit interrupted.
Okay.
So they've replaced all three lines and half the heaters. Now they're saying it's either a computer or wiring harness. The computer's $18,000, the wiring harness is $8,000.
Okay, so hold on there. Well, go ahead. What's the other problem?
The exhaust plungers, and when you set the Jake brakes, it vibrates the whole truck like the overhead is out, but the overhead is in.
Okay, so first off, what year, make, model?
18 Volvo VNL.
D13?
With the D13.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How many miles?
711.
Say that again.
700.
700,000. Have you had it since new?
No, it's actually Herschel's old truck. I bought it from Herschel.
Okay. Are you tracking?
Herschel
How long have you owned it?
I got it from Herschel in October. When Herschel had it, it was a 9 mile a gallon truck. Now I'm into low 5s, high 6s. And it's drinking DEF at about 8.5 to 9% instead of the average 2%.
And where physically is it in the shop right now?
Right now, I'm back in it. I've taken it out of the shop again because they wanted roughly $30,000 for the DEF computer and the wiring harness.
So, since this truck is fairly new to you and it doesn't have a lot of miles, not in my opinion, 700,000, and it was performing really well, I would want, if it were my truck, I would want to get it into, one of the good Volvo shops that we're aware of. And I can reach out to Joel and ask him specifically with this problem where he would take it. I would want another opinion about what's going on right now before I made a decision.
All right, so let me put this ball into play.
All right.
I'm also a remote tuner for Pittsburgh Power. I have their tablet. I have all the diagnostic software for the Detroits and the Cummins, and I'm pretty mechanically savvy. If it has to go outside of my reach, it's something that is very technical, and I could probably do it in a day or two, but pay the money and let them do it. The professional do it in 4 hours.
Well, and we might
also a lack of trained technicians.
Well, that's why I don't want you just to pull over to any random Volvo dealer. I want to get it to one of these people that we know are really good. And it's not that they might do it in 4 hours and you might do it in a day. You may not find it at all. And they may know pretty quickly what's going on.
Okay.
So it wouldn't.
Herschel and I, we batted around quite a bit, and I don't want to give up on the truck, but when does my mental health come into play?
Well, all the time. I mean, we have to think about that, but I also don't want to be so impulsive that we get rid of a truck and go through that whole process, because you lose money every time you trade trucks or swap trucks, or you will get rid of this at a deep discount on the wholesale market, and you'll have to buy a truck on the retail market. And I'm assuming you're going to buy used.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's new or used, we have no guarantee. I mean, we can do all the, diagnostic work we want. There can still be something that comes up just like you're dealing with now on the next truck. So we've only had one real diagnosis of this truck. I would want to get this to somebody really good.
I have not taken the time to come over to the new tribe yet. If you can link it to Herschel will call me. But I went through 3 dealerships. I went through one out of an emergency.
Okay.
I went to the one local to our terminal, and then I went to Herschel's old one. And right off the rip, they were all really confident. But as this thing progresses, now they're just saying, I want to try. Let's guess at this. I want to try. I want to guess. And if I have a Detroit or a Cummins Power truck, I go right to Pittsburgh Power. I go right to the source and we get her done.
Correct. We have, so I'm actually, I think Joel's going to be joining us on this call in a second if you've got a minute. Are you on a headset, by the way, or a speakerphone?
Hold on. Let me see if I can clear this up.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise.
Is that better?
Oh, much, much better. Now I don't have to shout. So here's what I wanted to do. Joel, I think will be. Oh, there he is right now. Joel?
Yes, sir.
There he is. Did you happen to be listening to the show last couple minutes?
I was not.
Okay. So we are, I've got Joe on the line. He's in Ohio, and he's got Herschel's 2018 Volvo. Used to be Herschel's. And it sounds like he's got a fairly significant emissions problem, DEF heaters. They're basically telling him it's going to cost him about $26,000 to replace a computer and a wiring harness. That's why I thought we should get you on the line. If nothing else, I want to get him to one of the good shops that you're aware of, because he's at the point where for his mental health, he's ready to dump this thing, and I don't think he should. It's got like 700,000 miles on it. When Herschel had it, it was a 9+ mile per gallon truck. Now he's getting 5s and 6s and having emission issues.
Oh, wow. Well, there's right between two shops that could help them out. So you have Clint Bankston. He's in North Carolina, not my Greensboro, and he is excellent. And we also have Patrick Philman. He's over in, I want to say, Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay, Herschel sent me those contacts this morning.
Good.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we're friends, and I think he's tired to hear me complain.
Yeah, and I'm sure he feels bad about this.
Well, he bought my Western Star, and he's had some similar issues. But mine was also an 02
right.
that sat in a barn for almost 14 years. But the truck was just perfectly beautiful.
Got it. Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Joel. Say that again.
Where have you had the truck? Where have you had the truck into so far?
I'm not going to try to throw them under the bus, but Little Rock, Volvo, Columbus, Ohio, Volvo, and Tampa, Volvo.
And they're all telling you the exact same thing?
Well, one replaced one line, and one replaced another line, and a third replaced a third line. One did an overhead, and then I took it to another shop to have them check the overhead because it ran really good for about 7 or 10 days, and now it's right back to its same scenario, same check engine light, same codes. Falls on its face right on a hill. It would drop down into the high 5s, low 6s on fuel economy instead of being the high 6s, low 7s. I pull and dump, and I'm always heavy. I don't have a lot of wind resistance, so the 9 for me is going to be a hard pull. I try to get the best out of everything I can. I'm a 57 to 62 mile an hour guy, but
you also said
the D13 is sometimes.
If we can quantify this a little more, you said it's using a lot of DEF. Do you have some numbers?
Yeah, it's up almost to 10%. Between it's an 18. It's the crossover year. It's still the Gen 2, but it's an 18.
Okay. How often you get through the Atlanta area?
Not often, but I could probably make it happen.
And there's another guy in Atlanta, Will Gibley. He's really good as well.
Okay. How long does it take for this to become available on the app so I can listen to it and write that name down and find his information?
I will. You won't. Yeah, I was going to say you won't have to wait. We'll get it to you. Yeah, we'll get it to you, Joe.
Okay.
When we're done, I'll put you back on hold. We'll get you this information because these are 3 options. I really think you've got to get one of these 3 to look at this before you make any decisions.
All right, because I mean, for the little bit of money that they exchange hands with me and Herschel, to the plus.
Okay.
If I take this and I use it for trading stock, I'm not out very much. I've got the money that was in the exchange hands between me and Herschel. That money's paid for itself. That money's back in the bank.
So let's approach it this way, and that's good. I'm glad that's where we are. Had this current problem not occurred, how well do you like this truck on a scale of 1 to 10?
0.
Oh, you don't like it?
With me, no, because with me doing in dump and it's a full 13.6 Aero truck. When I go to these older facilities, sometimes I may be second line, but I have to wait for 8 or 9 trucks to dump off so I can drive around the facility and back into a dump spot where they can just pull through. I want a 3/4 top. I rephrase that between a 1 and a need, but a 3/4 top would alleviate a lot of those problems with clearance issues.
So based on that, my advice would be let's not mess with something that could turn into, it could be really simple. One of these guys may go, oh no, here's how we fix it. But even then you have a truck you don't like. You're not out the money. You said this is no big deal. I would just go look for another
money, right? If I fix it.
Well, why? I mean, you're going to trade it in. The dealer doesn't, he's not even going to ask you these questions. The dealer doesn't look at much of anything when they take a trade in.
Just all the wheels are there and the corners aren't rounded off.
Pretty much. That they're just looking at mileage, condition, that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you should try to screw somebody with giving them a truck that's got a problem, but trucks have problems all the time. If you were going out, if you wanted to say, look, I want to get as much money as I can, I'm going to sell this to somebody, then I would absolutely say, well, then you're going to have to fix it if you want to sell it to somebody and you want to get as much as you can. If you're trading it in, I just go trade it in and be done with it.
If it was the twin compounds in a 13 or the 14 speed, and it was a little more user friendly for what I do, that would be a very deep consideration.
So let's go trade it in for one of those.
D13 that was traded. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just skip all the risk of not being able to find this, and because even if we find it, you're not going to be happy with the truck.
Right.
Yeah. Let's just go get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thanks for your time, Joel. Thanks for the call, and you fellas have a nice day.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Sure.
Well, Joel, I didn't need to bug you. I just needed to question him a little bit more.
Anytime.
I was assuming since he just got this truck in October that he was pretty excited about having it. I didn't expect that answer to be a 0.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he's too tall on it, it's cost him the time that it cost him. I completely get it. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and he said it was a trade and there wasn't a lot of money exchanged hands and he's going to do fine when he trades it in. Then go get something you really want and need.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
All right. Well, I have those three. Sure. I have those 3 numbers. We're going to keep those handy too.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
all right.
Those 3 guys, if they can't take care of it, nobody can.
That's good. That's kind of what I figured.
And Will Gibby, he is excellent on the I-shift. He rebuilds them in-house.
Oh, nice.
And the guy knows the I-shift better than what the engineers know the I-shift.
Excellent.
He is super.
Excellent.
If you have an I-shift, he's right in the area. He is great.
Hey, would just off the top of your head, would any of these guys, do you think, would they be interested in coming on the show, just introducing themselves?
Probably. I could probably arrange that.
Yeah. Why don't you check with them? Like to make them a resource.
I'll do that.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll let you know.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
We'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye. All right. Let's, I just hung up on myself. Hold on, everybody. It's one of those times when I went to click on Joel's line and Joel hung up and I clicked on my own and I've got to get us back. Hold on 1 minute.
Thank you for calling.
All right. I am getting us reconnected here and I will get right back to the calls. All right. I am back. Hey, Mark, I saw you up on the board there. And now you're gone. Jump back in with us if you're still listening. I'm here, and Oh, looks like Mark's coming back in already. All right, I'm going to go to Texas. Phone lines are open if you want to join us, 855-950-3835, or hit that call now button. Dwight, what's on your mind today?
Well, a couple things. I do want to ask you about AI, but first I'll just make a mention. I delivered all day to the Gigafactory in Texas, and I just like to say I don't like what Biden did, trying to shove electric cars down the country's throat.
Right.
And but I think Elon Musk is amazing, and I was extremely impressed going in and out of the factory. Of course, wasn't in the factory, but delivering.
No, right. Well, let's think about this, because I'm with you. I see Oregon just dropped their electric truck mandate because they realized how stupid that was. So we're turning the corner on the electric insanity that was being pushed by the government, specifically the Biden administration. But I am all for private companies advancing electric vehicles or electric power. Absolutely. And if the market wants it, then they'll succeed. Obviously, the market wants Teslas. They've been doing this for quite a while now, and they're pretty darn successful at it.
I'll tell you, the factory just going in and out, because you know how it is with a truck driver. You can go into places and there's warning signs. Do this, do that. Put your safety vest on. Have your hat. Have your glasses. You know what? How many signs they had?
How many?
One. Drive 24 miles an hour.
Not 20. Not 25. 24.
Nope. 24.
Yeah.
And you know what? You go into the factory. You share the same roads. It is so neat. Out of the side of the factory, when they finish a car or a Cybertruck, because they do Cybertrucks there in Austin, and when they come out, there's no driver. They come out, they get on the same road you do. They go to the same stop sign you do, and it's pretty weird.
That is weird.
Up the stop sign. And,
here's what I'd love to know. Here's what I'd love to know. Because you're right. Everybody else is so crazy about signs. We have to put warning labels on everything now. I want to know if there is a comparable factory, same size, same amount of traffic, same situation, that has all the goofy signs everywhere warning us about anything. Then you go to Tesla and they just have one speed limit sign. I want to see the safety statistics to see if there's any big difference.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. But hey, it was stop signs. They had to come out of the factory and they had immediately come down to a stop sign there.
Yeah.
And that's on the main road. I mean, and they're doing massive construction. You got constructions, you got cranes,
right?
You got trucks in and out of there. I mean, you got, golly, they got, 500 bay doors, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But so, it's not out on the open road, but it was neat.
Oh,
and
it is.
The atmosphere was just so nice. It really was. And hey, somebody's still buying them because they were kicking them out. Gosh, I want to say at least every 10 minutes, if not more, a new one come rolling out the door. Anyway, it was.
And we have to remember that that's in a political environment where some people now hate him and actively seek to destroy and damage and terrorize Teslas. And I think he's still doing okay.
I think so. Well, where I live, what I do, I don't see any time in the future. But I'll tell you what, if I did, I dang sure buy them. I used to have a business, and I said if I still had my business that I had 20 years ago, shoot, I'd have several Cybertrucks.
Yeah.
I'd use them as delivery vehicles because we delivered. We had delivery vehicles. I'd do it just to piss them off, But hey,
that's right.
But anyway, it was a nice. I'm really glad I did it.
Good.
And so I just wanted to say that. But about the I played a little bit a couple times, and I'm going to continue to play with some. But I've got a daughter. She's 28 and she's smart. She's a brainiac. So, and I keep pushing her. I'm like, you need to just start playing with this. And so with what's out there, which ones, what would you recommend her starting with and kind of encourage her to start doing?
So how old is she?
She's 28. She's 28. And
just in general, don't try to think necessarily job or occupation. Just think in general, what is something she's really interested in?
Well, she's going to school to be an accountant, and she works, but she goes to school part-time, which is almost full-time online. And then she works for a company, and my understanding, they do software, but then they also help manage it and support it. And when I say that, I think they even help, and that's for convenience stores and stuff like that. So, and it's a pretty good sized company. I mean, it's a nationwide company.
Okay.
So she's working there, but she's an accountant. And so she's obviously good with numbers.
Okay. So that gives me half of an idea. Is there a certain business, hobby, activity, sport, something else in her life that she's really interested in?
Well, her great big deal is unusual for a young person. She loves to sew. She's a wonderful seamstress. She's got a 2.5-year-old daughter and she can make her an outfit in overnight. And so she makes those, and she sold some. She sold some to a few people that just
bugged her. But I have an idea for her. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of which. So when you ask which AI, most people do not realize there are hundreds of them already, maybe thousands. Now what? Wow. Yeah. Now here's what I can kind of try to explain so you might understand this a little better. There are the big AI, let's call them engines. There are the big AI engines. The most popular, because they were the first ones out, the one everybody talked about, is ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI, is the company. Now, OpenAI has dozens of AI tools, or even what we could call, they're starting to create. ChatGPT is an AI bot. So one of the things we have to do is we kind of start to have to understand the terminology itself. AI bots are what most people are playing with. So AI bots are already starting to replace search engines. So instead of going to Google and searching and then having to click on a bunch of links, you can go to ChatGPT and ask it a question. It will go do a bunch of searches and come back with an answer. Far more powerful than a search engine. That's an AI bot. You ask it something, it does some research, it gives you an answer. We're now starting to progress to what are called AI agents that will take your question, think deeper about it, break it down into multiple steps, go do multiple searches and research something, and in a sense, think for you and bring you an even better answer. But then we have, the big ones are ChatGPT, Claude, which is run by a company called Anthropic that nobody had ever even heard about before.
No.
We have Deep Search, or Deep AI, which is basically Chinese, Gemini, which is Google's version of AI. Apple has their own version of AI. We have Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI that is part of X. Those are some of the bigger AI engines. Now, what you're seeing happen fast is companies are writing software that uses those engines to do something specific. One of the challenges with AI, it's really, really powerful, but you have to know how to talk to it. You have to know what to ask it and how to ask it, and then how to follow up. And that it can make all the difference in the world. And that's a skill that takes a while to learn. But what companies are already doing is saying, well, wait a minute. If you want AI to do this one specific task, you want it to write a book. They're taking and building AI software that leverages one of those other AI engines, but does things very specifically. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So like any one of those AI engines I just talked about can actually write a book. Now, whether the book's going to be worth reading or not depends on the person prompting it. And then, I know this one really well because I'm using AI to write a book. I'm probably using 6 different AI tools. And the learning curve on those tools is taking me months. And I've started my book over about 32 times because I keep figuring out how to use these tools better. In the meantime, somebody's writing software that would do a lot of the work I've already had to do. That's how fast this is progressing. So when I say there are thousands of AI tools, we might already be to tens of thousands. That's how fast this is happening.
Yeah.
So and here, my fear in the beginning was, oh my God, everybody's going to be able to write a book. Yeah, no, they're not. It looked like that in the beginning, really did. Then I started researching all this coding that AI can do. And I thought, oh my God, everybody's going to be able to write software. Well, no, they're not. Because I tried, I could get 80% of a program done in 1 hour. I would never be able to do the other 20%. I don't have the skill. I don't have the knowledge. I have no idea how to finish what I kind of started. So then I gave it to Aaron, and Aaron could do maybe another 10% of it because he knows some coding and design languages. Ultimately, we still had to get our lead programmer involved, and we are in the process of redoing almost all of our software. Now, what we don't need a team of 6 programmers that it's going to take them 6 months to create what I designed. It's going to take 1 or 2 people and probably half that time. So everybody isn't going to go out and write software. They're going to try. 99% of them are just going to fail and waste a lot of time. That goes the same thing for book writing. A lot of people are going to try. They're going to go to one of these AI programs. And they're going to say, oh, here's an idea for a book. And it's going to crank out a book. And it's going to be mostly garbage. And there's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be everywhere. So now it's going to be harder to find the really good stuff. So here's what I think your daughter should consider. Similar to what we've done with our member site. It's social media, but 1, it's paid, and 2, it's very specific and controlled. It's not just X or Facebook or Instagram where anything goes and people are getting tired of that. I think they're not going to go away, but a lot of those platforms have run their course. They're not growing the way they used to. People are leaving them or not spending as much time on them. The trend now is to move towards very niche social media that people are actually willing to pay for. And it's a very specific interest. The beauty of this is if you would have tried to build this just 3 years ago, if you would have tried to build a very specific social media site and monetize it, one, it would take a team of people, a lot of money, and quite a bit of time. Now, one person with some time on their hands, willing to learn some new skills around AI, how to use AI specifically, could build and monetize one of these sites themselves. You could market it, you can build it, you can monetize it. All of these things that used to take a team of programmers, one person with some decent AI skills, something you could probably learn yourself in a month if you had enough time, could build this on their own now. And I think one of the things...
Are you going to start this on YouTube or just immediately try to start your own and monetize, or are you talking about starting with on YouTube?
I wouldn't waste my time on YouTube anymore. YouTube, trying to get traction on YouTube is difficult because there's 10 million other people that have been trying to do it for years.
Yeah, and I think they've already got AI so heavily involved. They've screwed up YouTube.
Well, all of these platforms are going to change dramatically because of AI, and that's where I believe the future is skipping all those. Don't try to get 1 million followers on social media. That train has left the station a long time ago. You don't need 1 million followers. And honestly, 1 million followers on a lot of these social media platforms, one, it doesn't make you as much money as it should. And two, you're at a huge risk. I know somebody who had a huge following on YouTube and was making over $1 million a year. YouTube made one change and their revenue got cut down to about $600,000 a year.
Yeah, or just got rid of them.
That happens too. So the future is not trying to get these huge social media followings so that you can monetize it. You don't have much control over that. She might be able to build a pretty nice business for somebody her age with 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, if you have 1,000 people willing to pay you $10 a month, which is no big deal today, right?
Right.
Look at the revenue.
Well, and another reason that would work is now there is a resurgence of younger people starting to sow.
Well, Dwight, you don't need to convince me. Here's why. I just said you only need 1,000 people, and guess what? They can be anywhere in the world.
Yep. Exactly.
There is no, in my mind,
creative.
In my mind, there is no niche that is too small. I don't care how goofy you think your idea might be. There's 1,000 people in the world who would be interested in it. I'm sure of it.
Well, yeah. Well, and the homesteading deal is that, and that kind of goes with it.
Yes.
I think.
Sure. She could expand on this idea of being more self-sufficient, and maybe her big thing is the sewing or quilting or whatever. There's lots of ways to go with this, but I think if and your question was what should she be doing with AI, she should be learning how to use AI as a tool to create content and build a community.
Yep. Well, she's very creative, extremely creative.
That may be the most valuable talent somebody can have right now.
Yep. I had a very wealthy friend, and when I worked for him for a long time, and he was around the kids when they were little, and that subject came up several times, and that's what he always says. And of course, you know, he was a billionaire, so
yeah.
He was pretty smart about something, and that's what he said. Create something. Be creative.
Create, yes.
That will make you the money.
Yes.
Be creative and create something.
The tools are going to level the playing field. The AI tools it's going to make it very possible to build things quickly and cheaply. And you think, well, then if everybody can do it, how is anybody going to succeed? Well, anybody could have created Amazon. Amazon was pretty darn simple. He sold things online. Really, that's all that he started doing was selling books online. Anybody could have done that. That was not when you look at the things that Elon has created, it takes some sort of a genius. I mean, you don't build rockets, if you aren't some sort of mad scientist genius. You don't become the world's largest electric automobile maker without some serious brain power. You don't build a company like the Boring Company. He is such a unique, brilliant mind. But look at what about Facebook? Come on, Mark Zuckerberg. Anybody could have built Facebook. Anybody could have built Twitter. Twitter was even more simple. My God, Twitter was a little messaging app where you got, 146 characters or whatever it was in the beginning. That's all that was. So there are...
And see,
that's where we are now with this technology. Anybody can use it. It's not hard to learn. Are you creative enough that you're going to come up with a good idea and then stick with it? Because people will be all over the board. Some people just aren't very creative. If you have an interest like that and she's creative, she sounds intelligent, she could certainly use her accounting background because people that understand money and numbers are good at running businesses because that's what business is all about. So I think she is ideally suited to do something like this.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say one more thing, then I want to ask the last big question.
Sure.
But, see, I'm a little older than you, and this is what's driving me crazy and me and you, and I'm 67, so I'm a little older.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I had that Tandy computer that sounded like it was going to launch off the
that's right.
launch off the, as the floppy disk spun around and chunka. And I didn't become Bill Gates,
right,
or any of those guys. I missed that. I look at all the things we've missed,
Oh, no doubt. Well,
that I've missed.
Here's the difference. Through all those, we were consumers, not creators.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's the world or our country, however you want to break this up, is going to be 99.5% consumers. And then there's going to be 0.5% creators. This time, I think that number might be a lot bigger because it got even easier now. But and of course, there's going to be a lot of competition. But there's also so many markets and so many ideas. Your billionaire friend's advice was absolutely correct. Be a creator.
Yep. So, last question: what would be the first one at this time to get her to start playing with?
So my favorite right now is Claude, and she will need, I would absolutely get a paid account. We're not talking about a lot of money, but the paid account opens up the newest features first. The reason I say Claude is, and then from there, here's a great way to do this. So I'm giving away all my secrets. Claude allows you to do what are called projects. So if you go to, say, Grok, I think OpenAI might be doing this now. I don't play around with that one much because I'm really happy with Claude for now. In a project, you put a project in a folder. and you can build on that project over and over and over. It's not like going in and asking it one question and then asking it another question and then a third, and then you just have this whole long list of chats there. You open a project for a specific item, a specific project, and you can even load what are called knowledge documents into that project. So, for example, let's talk about this sewing. She might have Claude do research on financial and business opportunities around sewing. You might start even with a big idea like that. And it'll go do a bunch of research and come back with a bunch of statistics and ideas. Then you save that as a knowledge document into that project. And then you could ask Claude other questions about that business idea or that project idea. And then you save that into that folder or that project, and now it builds over time, and AI has access to all that prior data that you keep looking up and working with. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's where I would start. And that's, as a company, we're a little split. Lisa really likes ChatGPT because that's what she started with. So in marketing and some of the other ideas, they use ChatGPT a lot. Aaron and I working on, courses and programs and apps, we have projects going on that start in Claude. Then I have probably, depending on the project, I have 10 other AI tools that I'm using. One of the ways to find those other tools is once you have your idea, ask Claude. Just ask.
Yeah.
Here's my idea. I want to build this. Tell me the top 3 AI agents I should be looking at. And it'll go do all the research and come back and give you all the reasons why you should use these 3 for the next step.
How are you spell? You're saying Claude.
Yeah,
Can
just
you
like
spell that?
just like the name.
Like it. Just like
CLAUDE. Claude.
DE. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. There you go. Well, hey, I will get her and I think she can ask the right questions, because when she was junior high, really before, she used to read. She could take a 2-inch thick book and read it. She's a massive reader.
Excellent.
So you like that.
Absolutely.
But she also, even in junior high, and the teacher would give her a book report or something, she had to finally rein her in and say, okay, we're going to have to shorten this up, because she would just write a book about a book. So she's good at that. So
tell her. You tell her if when are you going to talk to her?
I'll talk to her tonight.
You tell her.
I'm on the road right now.
Does she work now? She currently working? Or is she going?
Yeah. Okay. She's working right now.
So you tell her, I don't care how early she has to get up for work tomorrow. If after she talks to you, she doesn't get off and start on this idea immediately, she's missing out.
Yeah, because being a dad, I'm trying to be a good boss and a good dad. I'm trying to get the best out of her.
Absolutely.
She's got so much she can do, but
she sounds ideally suited for what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm going to tell her that, and once you get this replayed, I'm probably going to say, all right, forget Dad's talking here.
Good.
Kevin's doing all the talking. You listen to Kevin.
Good.
So anyway, well, hey, I appreciate your time. I'll let you go.
All right.
To somebody else, but I appreciate the info.
All right. Let me know how this goes. I think she would be ideal for this. Let's go to Texas. Mark, welcome.
Howdy, good morning. Hey, thanks for allowing us to stop in and say hello the other day.
It was great to see you.
Very kind of you.
Yeah, sounds like you had fun up here, too.
Well, we did. I'll tell you this. My daughter said of all the places we visited, she liked, and we were only there for a little bit because we went back to a coffee shop and got coffee to head back up the road. she thought Cascade Locks was one of the better places. So
I tend to agree with her.
Yeah, that's the feeling she got. So she's honest about her opinions. I mean, she liked Forks too, and she liked San Juan Island a lot. So,
well, just
you know,
so the history here is we were in Hawaii. We spent a month in Hawaii because I was thinking about moving over there because my schedule was so bad, and we decided Hawaii was too small and too far away. So while I was in Hawaii, I started looking at houses, and I looked at the San Juan Islands because we had been there, and I really liked it. I knew I didn't want to be too close to Seattle or Tacoma or Olympia. Maybe Olympia, I could have gotten far enough out just because of all the traffic and the congestion up there. And then I had remembered, and I think I told you this when you were standing here talking to me. I used to fly helicopters up and down the gorge. And I used to look at the gorge and think, what a beautiful place. Imagine living there. And that thought came to me when I said, you know what, we're going to live somewhere on the West Coast. And I just started looking up houses, and this house popped up. It was really unusual. The price was incredible because we were at the bottom of the real estate market in 2012. And I kind of became obsessed with the house online. So I researched the area before we got here. When we pulled in, I had already decided, unless Lisa just absolutely said no, I had already decided before I saw the house that we were buying it. And we bought it that day. We bought it the first day we got here.
yeah.
And we cut a deal. There was actually renters in the house. It had never been bought. The original builder still owned it, and they were renting out 2 rooms actually in the house. And I cut a deal. It was Thursday. And I said, I'll sign the contract today. We'll buy the house if you can get the renters out by Saturday so I can do my show here because I can't find a hotel room anywhere. And I'm either staying here and I need a place to do my show, or we're flying back to Ohio because we have tickets. And they actually got the renters out. They had another house they could move them into. And on Thursday, we signed the deal and moved in on Saturday.
Wow. Well, it's really nice, and the whole area is. I mean,
I love it.
It's a nice town. And like I said, my daughter, I asked her, I said, of all the places you saw, which would be your favorite place if you wanted to move out there? She's like, where your friend Kevin lives, Cascade Locks. We went down to Mitchell's Point after that, and I went to the top. I went to the top. She did, and she went up a little bit and went back down, and then came back the next day. Went to the falls on the way back in. Really didn't, just kind of walked up to the bridge or whatever. She was driving. We didn't take the back road. We just Old 30. We just took the exit there.
Oh, okay.
And,
for Multnomah Falls.
So much to see up there in that whole area that you can't possibly see it all. We just took a sample of everything. So, one thing I was going to comment on of all the people talking today, and the one guy was talking about things that I'm listening to him, is he couldn't control, or he was worried about things that he couldn't control, in the economy. And, the one thing I was like, man, you need to refocus. He said something about he was worried about the pole shifting, or what if that happens. I mean, if that happens, that's it, I guess. But it's like, I don't focus on things like that. I focus on the things I can control, and even whatever happens in the economy, it really has no bearing about what we think or what we can do. We just have to focus on our business and our customers and what we do, and let the rest take care of itself.
I think I've found the right balance on this kind of stuff. I've gone to both extremes, kind of. I think I've found the right balance. And it's a shame we've kind of bastardized this whole word. I want to know enough about what could possibly happen, whether it's in our economy our government, our world, our environment, whatever it is. I want to know enough that I can be as prepared as possible. If this happens, if a CME hits and we lose the electrical grid, what do you need to be prepared for that? And that's an extreme. I mean, that's a really, really big thing if that's going to happen. Where I am on this now is understand enough about it that you can be as prepared as possible without becoming obsessed over it. And then it's easy to forget. There's nothing more I can do. If we lost our power grid, whether it was for, a month or a year or whatever, however catastrophic it might be, I've pretty much within reason done about everything I can do to be prepared for it. So now I can just forget that whole idea.
You had one guest on, I don't know if you've had him in a while or whatever. You had a round table one time, several years back. You all were talking, and it was Todd Amon. And he said, I got it figured out. He said, this is what they do. He said, they're just going to print more money. And they've been doing it since 2008. And that's what they've done. It's the debt refi cycle.
I know.
And every year, and they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again this year. They're going to. They've got to get interest rates lower right now. And they're going to do it again. And they're going to print the shit out of the money because they got $7 to $9 trillion to refinance before the end of the year. And Todd Amon was exactly correct, and he figured that out. That's what they're doing around the world now. They're all doing it. And so you have to fit into that somehow. So whether it's right or wrong, that's what they're doing, the powers that we have no control over.
Correct.
Yep. And that's what they're doing. And people can sit there and say, oh, they're just spending. Well, they're going to spend money. They're not. They're just, Congress is not going to cut spending. They're just not. And the powers that be are just going to print more money. And the dollar is not going to lose reserve currency status because everybody in the world deals in dollars. Everybody deals in dollars, and that's what it is right now.
Right.
Ray Dalio can be all mad, all obsessed with what he's obsessed about, the change of world order. But that's what they use right now. They use dollars everywhere. I mean, they might not accept it in France. You might have to use a euro, but that's the world currency as we speak right now. So,
yeah. No, I agree. So all of these things, I want to know enough that I can be as prepared as possible. And right now, that topic for me is AI. I want to know as much as I can about AI so I can stay ahead of the curve and figure out how to take advantage of it and not get run over by it.
It's going to run over people, and you better have a niche industry out there that's not going to be affected by it. Especially in the trucking industry, you better have something that you do that is going to be at the tail end of that, because when it comes, it's going to come all of a sudden, and there's going to be a big disruption. And the livestock hauling, car hauling, probably, I don't know about tanking, but heavy haul, things that require a human being to do human being things are going to be the tail end of that.
Correct.
Whereas, the average J.B. Hunt, box trailer worth of stuff, they'll just load it with that. They'll load it with a robot, unload it with a robot. It'll be driven by a robot.
Yeah.
And speaking of robots, I think Tesla's got their robot listed or about to list it for $25,000. I took a screenshot of something Elon posted, and I tagged you in it this morning asking you when you were going to get your Tesla robot to test. So,
well, the interesting thing is I'd have to go back and verify this, but it seems to me like 10 years ago, maybe even a little more than that, didn't Honda come out with a robot that was like $25,000 and it was supposed to do a bunch of domestic chores?
They very well might have. I mean, because once his robot comes out, everybody else has probably got one in development. Everybody's got stuff in development. I mean, as far as electric cars go right now, Hyundai is probably, I would say, one of the second one out there. They built a fully huge electric plant in Georgia over by Savannah. They've also are cranking out in West Point, Georgia, electric vehicles left and right. I mean, I've been hauling them.
Right.
And the thing about Hyundai is I look on the Moroni sticker, and it's like, it talks about their warranty, 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
You look on the electric cars, they put a 10-year warranty on that battery. That's better than Tesla. They've gone
that's pretty incredible.
Their battery saying, we will guarantee this battery for 10 years. And so you know what people are doing? They are buying Hyundais and Kias because without warranty, and they don't argue with you. If the engine goes out, the battery goes out, you go in, they do an engine swap, a battery swap, and you go on about your way. There's no question asked. And people like that.
Yeah, they do.
That's what they're buying them. So, you know, in the same way with Toyotas. I mean, Toyota's Toyota. You got your FJ Cruiser, and I got a Tacoma, and these things should last almost virtually forever because it's a Toyota, and they put the quality into it.
Not only do I not take care of mine, I've abused it from day one. It doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah. Now, there's a saying out there that people say, and I don't know what is true, and I've seen it more in one different places. Toyotas are built to be abused, and a Mercedes-Benz is built to be taken in to have maintenance done on it. And if you don't do the maintenance on a Mercedes, it's not going to last like a Toyota lasts.
I can generalize more than that. It's the Germans versus the Japanese. The German vehicles are what Germans do better than anybody's engineering, precise engineering. You are correct. If you want the German cars to last forever, and they will, you have to do the regular routine maintenance on them. And if you do it at the shop, it is outrageously expensive, but they will last forever. The Toyota, on the other hand, I don't do anything to it, and it looks like it's going to last forever.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got Tundras out there that have gone 1 million miles.
I'm not surprised.
And they do. Every once in a while you can read about them, and they'll bring them into a dealership. And there was a story about one, I think in Dallas or whatever. Somebody went in with one, and they just said, you know what? We're going to give you a Tundra for driving that 1 million miles, or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I mean, if you, and when I say take care of it, I'm just saying reasonable care. Change the oil when you should. Half the time I can't remember when I changed my oil last. And, you know, once in a while I think, boy, it's been a couple of years. Maybe I should change the oil. And I've done so little to take care of that vehicle. And it's in essence, it drives like it's new.
Yeah. And it'll be there as long as you need it, or, you know, like you can give it to your kids or whatever, because it's not going to go anywhere. They just last like that. I mean, people ask about their little Corollas and whatnot, and it's like it's a 200,000 minimum car, 200,000 mile minimum car.
Yeah.
And, and like I said, with the Hyundais and the Kia, they just stepped up with the warranty, and so people like that. The prices are not; they're less than Toyotas. But I'm telling you, if it wasn't for Hyundai and Kia, I mean, I don't know what I'd be hauling out here, because that's 90% of what I do.
Well, and like I said, and
there's
being out on the road, I was again shocked at how many Hyundais and Kias I see. They're everywhere now.
Rental car companies. Just today, I'm going to go load 9 Elantras and take them to Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And going to real cars. It's all the real cars. They buy others, but the majority of what the real car companies are buying now are Hyundais.
Well, it makes sense.
Kias, but and they have their own luxury brand, Genesis.
Correct.
And they've used a lot of German engineering in the Genesis, and those are really popular.
Yeah.
So, and they're not outrageous like compared to a German car. And they're basically German engineered.
Right. Right. The only thing you miss out on when you buy like the Genesis line, say to a BMW or a Mercedes, or the only thing you miss out on is the prestige. The vehicle is every bit as good. Yeah. It's just not the same status symbol. That's the only difference.
No, that's that. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like, well, it wasn't made in Germany. Okay, it's like, you can get and now the German, the Mercedes they make over in Vance, Alabama, they are so heavy because they put in this hybrid technology. Every last one of them are over 5,000 pounds.
Holy cow!
That's another thing you get. Yeah, it's another thing. They're all SUVs. It's like three or four different types of SUVs they make in Vance, Alabama.
Yeah.
Most people can generally get on, and you're overweight when you do it. Is 7 of them.
Holy cow!
Yeah, they're like, yeah, and you know, I did 4 Mach-E's last week. That's the Ford version.
Yeah.
And those damn things are like 4,800 pounds.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
All right.
They've got to do something with these weights. But anyway.
All right. So, I'm going to cut you loose today. We'll talk again soon. We did the full 3 hours today. That flew by. All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. If you're not a member of the community site, you really should be. Let'sTruckTribe.com. I think I heard somebody actually say they hadn't come over to the new site yet. You need to do that. Come on over and join us. Growing every day, getting better and better all the time. It's not a big commitment. You can sign up at any level you want for a month at a time. We have 4 different levels. Just check them out. Come on over and join us. Let'sTruckTribe.com. All right, we will see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.